Hey, everybody, welcome to the Jim Masters Show live entertainment lifestyle talk show series. How's everybody doing today? Join me in welcoming really, truly a television icon to our show. The one and only Jerry Mathers is joining us from his home in Los Angeles, California, and we're so honored to have him here today. Uh, put your hands together and let's give him a lovely welcome. Jerry, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you, Jim. It's my pleasure to be on your show. Quite an honor.
Oh, thank you very much. How have you been doing? We've been living in some different and unique times. How have you been staying? I always say to the guests, creative, collaborative, connected, and sane. And usually that's when the guests will say, I'm still working on that part, Jim.
I think I've got them all pretty well handled. It's a different world now. There's a lot of
Yeah.
things that you have to do differently that we didn't have to do before. But my wife and I are very happy here. She's a president of the Rose Society where we live, and so we go out and do a lot of work on the roses and a lot of gardening and just kind of stay out of everybody's way.
Oh, that's it. That's right. 6 feet away. That's a great thing that she does that. I'm a green thumb myself, and gardening could be really therapeutic and just, getting your hands dirty and in the soil and nurturing plants. It's really a terrific thing. So that's great that you guys do that. As I say, you've always been involved in the community. You're so charitable, and I don't know if people realize that to the depth that you are so involved. Um, but it all goes back to you and I were having an interesting conversation beforehand, which I thought was so great. This chance meeting situation in a department store when you were just a wee tot and were sort of discovered there. Tell us about that.
Well, my mom was from Minnesota and my dad was from Iowa. And he came out here to go to USC and he got his degree so he could become a teacher. He retired as a superintendent of LA City Schools. But at that time, they didn't have a lot of money and she was looking for clothes for me that were bargains. And a lady came up to her and said, "Is that your little boy?" And she figured, "Uh-oh, what did he break? What did he do?" And my mom said, "Yes, but anything that's wrong, I'll pay for it." And the lady said, "No, but I've noticed that he's wearing our clothes. You tried a few outfits on and they fit him perfectly. Could he be a model for us?" And my mom went, "Well, I know this is the big city. What is this? And my mom said, "Well," and the lady said, "Well, you know what? We pay him and he could keep one outfit." My mom said he could do that. So I started out as a model, and then live TV was just really kind of starting then. And in New York, they could go to the Broadway stage to get actors. Here in Los Angeles, everything was on film. So suddenly they went around and said, "Well, wait a minute. He's worked off film, so maybe he could do this." So I just started and I did all sorts of different TV shows. But the thing was, they were all live, and so there's no copy of them. But I worked with Red Skelton, all sorts of things. I did a lot of movies. And then in 1957, I went on an interview that was a cattle call. There was about 1,000 boys on it. And when we got there, we went, "What kind of a job is this going to be?" Because there was everybody from Lumpy to Eddie to Wally to the Beaver. And we didn't know how they could have that many kids for just one show. But when the smoke cleared, I was the one. They picked me to be the Beaver, and we did that for the next 6 years. And it's one of the longest running shows in television history. Never been off the air since October of 1957,
That
and put us
is
all over the world.
exactly, which is absolutely unbelievable. It's just, it really, those shows of that time and a few years after and a few years before, they really resonate with people. I mean, I'm just seeing in some of these comments, I mean, their youth, their childhood, even later generations who didn't see it when it was on for the first run still love it because these shows have heart, they have soul, there's warmth, there's a structure to it. There is simple premise, but relatable because it's everyday things that we all go through in our lives. That's why you see the Leave It to Beavers and the I Love Lucy's and the Dick Van Dykes and these kinds of shows continue to flourish, and they're beloved, they're iconic. The relatability is so important and paramount, and they really nailed it when they created these shows, didn't they?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's let Leave It to Beaver be on for so many years, from 1957 to now, is that they were all real life. The writers just weren't going in and making jokes or writing things about kids that they thought kids might do. All those things that you saw on the show really happened to some other kid at some time. The writers had, I think, it was 12 kids between them, Joe Conley and Bob Mosier. They both had big families, and their kids got in a lot of trouble, and their kids are getting in trouble. And the next week I was doing it. I wasn't getting in any trouble, but we are making a show out of it.
What was that feeling like? Again, you had so much work that you did prior to Leave It to Beaver because you started, at 2 years old. Tell us about the early years of Jerry Mathers, even prior to that phenomenal role as Beaver Cleaver.
Well, it actually started when I was 2 years old. My mom was walking through a department store. We went on. All of a sudden, a lady came up to her and said, "Is this your little boy?" She thought I broke
Right,
something. The lady said,
right.
"Nobody fits our clothes." I was a model. Then I went on to television because people couldn't find any little boys that had worked in front of a live audience. And that's what TV was at that time. It wasn't on tape like now, it was all live. And I did it all right. And I just started working all the time. And Alfred Hitchcock came on to do a live commercial, saw me, and I then did The Trouble with Harry and a whole lot of movies. And in 1957, I went on an interview, and there were about 2,000 people on it.
Mm,
We couldn't figure it out
wow.
because there was every kid in Hollywood and
Everybody.
also New York and Chicago. And the reason was is they weren't just testing for the beaver, they were testing for Wally and Eddie and all the other characters. And we kept going back and back. And finally they said, "Well, you've got the job, and it's a situation comedy. It's called Leave It to Beaver." And
Mm.
the rest is history.
So when you heard that, when you heard you were going to be on this series, I know you're a kid, and the feelings are unique when you're a kid. But can you recall some of the feelings you had? There must have been pure excitement. Was there any fear? Were you like, "Oh, this is monumental"? What were some of the feelings that ran through you when you realized you're the one they picked out of these thousands of kids who were dreaming and hoping, and they saw something, and there was a spark in your eyes, something in your step, something in your personality that matched what they were looking for in that character?
Well, that all sounds real good, but it isn't that way. I've been
Never
working
is it?
I've been working as an actor since I was 2 years old. So honestly, it was just another job. I'd worked with Alfred Hitchcock and all these other people, and so it was just another interview I went on. I got the job. The next thing I knew, I was, doing a show, and it went on for 6 years. It was very, very popular, and it's now the longest running show in television history. It has been off the air since 1957.
That is really unbelievable. What was it like when you came across Alfred Hitchcock, who put you in The Trouble with Harry? What was that like?
Well, it was really fun. I know a lot of people that were older actors, at the time had a lot of trouble working with him, but I used to sit up on his lap and
Mm,
uh, run my lines with him. And I saw him when I was doing Leave to Beaver because he was doing Alfred Hitchcock Presents. And I'd see
yeah.
him in the commissary. He'd always come over, or I'd go over to him and say hello. So to me, he was just like a very nice fellow that I really liked and always got along with very well.
Now, what was it like on the set being a part of that? Because Alfred Hitchcock movies are really classics, and they're really something else. Must have
Well,
been exciting.
it was really fun. It was Shirley MacLaine's and John Forsythe's first movie, and I'd done several before that. So, I
Yeah.
was like the old pro of the group. But it was just really fun. And he'd bring me over and he'd sit me on his lap. And it's his only dark comedy, but it
Right.
is a comedy. But people always, I found out later, are very afraid of him. And I'd sit on his lap and he'd say, "Now, Jerry, I want you to say it a little bit different next time. Do this, do that." And I'd go and do it. And he'd say, "Great job." And later on, I found out that a lot of actors were absolutely terrified to even work with him, but I had a great relationship with him.
Wow, that's fantastic. I mentioned also too, I mean, you've had so many opportunities, Jerry, to work with real legends. You also were part of a couple of movies with the one and only Bob Hope. What was it like working with Bob and the folks on these movies, like that certain feeling?
Well, it was really fun. When you're a kid, they can't make you work like a regular actor. So everybody treats you really nice. That certain feeling was really fun. We went to a lot of different places to film it, and I used to sit on Alfred Hitchcock's lap, and I did the Seven Little Foys. And in that one, Bob Hope saved my life because there was a fire scene where he was supposed to be on a stage, and I was sitting up in the balcony, and the fire got a lot worse than they thought it was supposed to be, and the
Wow.
fireman couldn't get to me, and the only person that could get to me, and he went up basically with a coat over his head to get me. So I had a lot of adventures, but it was definitely a lot of fun.
Mm, that's fantastic. That's really terrific. When you think about again, the folks that you had an opportunity to work with over the years, and then, as you say, Leave It to Beaver comes along, and there's this wonderful structure of family, and you're working with, the wonderful Hugh Beaumont and Barbara Billingsley, Tony Dow. A lot of times people, mention what it was like working on sets. There's a lot of work that has to be done, and they take it seriously, and there's a schedule, and you've got to shoot and get it going, and because the series is on the air, and they got to have the series ready to go. But then certain people will say, it was such a pleasure working with the fellow actors. We worked hard, we did quality work, but it really was like a family. It was um, similar in terms of the feeling and the love for one another and care for one another. And when you watched this particular series, Jerry, you
Mhm.
had that feeling that there was real love for one another, care for one another. You were rooting for one another, and that it was like a real family. Did you feel that way on the set with Hugh and Tony and Barbara and all the other cast of characters?
Well, definitely they were very, very. I mean, I knew that I had my family at home, but they were like if you had a favorite teacher in school or somebody like that, a mentor, and the whole cast was like that, and the crew was like that too, because they made sure that all the people on the crew were family members and had kids of their own, because it's hard to work with kids. They don't understand that it's a job. I did. I mean, I did it very well, and Tony did. But it's a long day. You work basically 8 to 5, 9 to 6, and you have to know your lines, and you have to do what you're told. And it was a lot of fun, but also a lot of work.
Yeah, what was a typical day like? Because there were so many different scenes and scenarios, inside, outside. Um, what was a typical day like for you, or were they atypical? Each day something different.
They were fairly typical. We filmed for 3 days. So Monday and Tuesday, we would come in. Monday, we would just read the script. And for about the first 3 or 4 years, I would go there and listen to them when they did it, but I wouldn't read my own lines. But all the older actors would read the lines, and they'd see how the show flowed. On Tuesday, we'd go in and we'd rehearse it on the set. And so everybody knew where they were going to be moving. And the next 3 days, we shot it. We basically shot for the kids 8 to 5 or 9 to 6, because under the laws, that's when we had to go home. And then the poor adult actors might be there till 9 or 10 o'clock at night, when they had to go around to each of the sets and do their close-ups and two shots and all the other shots that they had to miss so that they could do the whole day's work.
The show ran many years, and there's so many classic episodes that people remember. And some of the nostalgic networks like to do binges where they'll do Leave It to Beaver, Dennis the Menace, and some of the others. Do you have some episodes that are your personal favorites from the many that you did? I know it's kind of hard to pick them because they're all like your babies in a way, but are there a few that stand out for you that either were just a blast and a lot of fun to be a part of, or you just like the storyline and everything that was being told in the storyline?
Well, probably the one that was the most fun for me was one where I fell in the soup bowl on the stand. Yeah, billboard. And the reason it is because I got to go up there and they had a stunt double for me, but it just didn't look like me. So I was the one that actually did most of the time in that. And the teacher was out there and she was watching to make sure that I was all right. And it was just a lot of fun. But, every day it was so much fun working with the cast and crew that we just had a good time. And so after 6 years, when it ended, it was really very kind of sad to be able to see. It was like when you left either maybe elementary school or junior or college, and all of a sudden everybody was gone. But it was a great time working on the show.
What was that like when it did come to an end? Some child stars have trouble when they're identified with a particular character and now it comes to an end and life moves on and you have to sort of either continue in that path and try to continue in that path or reinvent yourself. How was it for you? Were you surrounded by family and love to make sure that when that ended, which all things do eventually come to an end, it wasn't as traumatic for you as it could have been if you didn't have the guidance and the support? Because sometimes you see some child actors who are on these iconic shows, uh, and then they go in a different direction because they don't have that support system around them.
Well, actually, they did it at a very good time for me because I was in the eighth grade. So I was just starting high school. And one of the things that I not the word deny, but I had been not able to do was like sports. So my dad was fully employed. So it wasn't like my parents were just living off the money from Leave It to Beaver. And I went on other interviews, but basically, I went to high school for the next 4 years. I was on the football team and a lot of the other sporting events. I was on the track team for a while. So I had a wonderful life and it just ended at exactly the right time.
So the timing was good.
And
What
Tony
was
was going into college, which also was good for him.
That's right, exactly. What was the next step for you after Leave It to Beaver? What was the next thing that you did? You mentioned sports in terms of television and the career for you.
Well, after Leave It to Beaver, I still was in school. I'm a graduate of the University of California at
That's
Berkeley.
right.
So I have a degree in philosophy. I then went into real estate and
That's right.
spent some years selling houses to people. And then in the later on, they decided to do the new Leave It to Beaver, and I did that for 6 years. So and that was fun because I got to go into the basically Hugh Beaumont or Ward part and play the father. And I had two kids of my own, and Wally had two kids, but one of them was a girl, which was good because we never had a daughter on the show. So it was just really fun. And Barbara Billingsley, sadly, Hugh Beaumont had passed away, but Barbara Billingsley was in it. And we got a lot of the crew back too. So it was just like an old family reunion. And we went back and just had a wonderful time.
You mentioned real estate. You were also in the catering business for a bit too, right?
Yep, I saw that the studios didn't have any food for the people. They'd have a little bit donuts in the morning, but
Yeah.
I realized that they needed food for lunch, and so I started a catering business with a catering truck. I wasn't in it; I was just basically managing it, and it was a good thing. It was a lot of work, and we did some huge parties. We once fed about 500 people outside for a politician's big whatever he was telling people about. But it was a lot of work. It was fun, and I had a good time doing it. But I got out of it pretty quick.
Now, you guys have stayed in touch, right, over the years, which is a beautiful thing. Not everybody gets a chance to do that, but you have done that, right, as best as you can. I know everybody's usually always far apart from one another, but over the years, through the various incarnations of these series, you've had an opportunity to stay in touch.
Pretty much so. We're all good friends, and there really wasn't any big thing about one person wanted to be the star, or we were just happy to be on the show. So everybody was very, very friendly. And sadly, people have passed away. So that's always something that's it's a heartbreaker for you. The people that were your good friends are suddenly not there anymore. But it was a fun time, and we all had a great time doing the show.
What do you think it is, Jerry, about Leave It to Beaver specifically that keeps it in the hearts and minds of people and the way that it is, why they turn to it, almost as a remedy for the craziness that's going on in life. Obviously, the scenes, the scripts, well written, all of it. What do you think it is about the series that is what touches people so much?
Well, I think one of the things is it's easy to relate to, and the reason for that is they're all real stories. They just weren't people going in and writing lines to get jokes. I mean,
Right.
the two writers, Joe Conley and Bob Mosier, had I think it was 12 kids between them,
Mm.
and so a lot of the things were kids things that they'd really done. Their kids had done them, or somebody at their school would say, "You know what so and so did," and they tell it to their dad, and the next week I was doing it on TV.
Yeah. What was it like working with Tony? Did it feel like a brotherly relationship?
Well, he was like a very, very good friend, but it really wasn't like a brother relationship. It was kind of funny because he is the youngest in his family. I'm the oldest in mine. So I was the Wally in my family, and he was the Beaver when he got home.
So that's, yeah, it's amazing how those tables turn like that.
Juxtaposition.
Yes. And you mentioned Hugh no longer with us, of course, and Barbara.
Interesting, though, he was a Methodist minister, and
Hugh.
Hugh Beaumont
Ye-
was
yes.
who played Ward, and had only gotten into TV and movies. So because where he was is he was working with the drunks down in the bad part of town, and they couldn't really support a church, so he became an actor. And he was, I think it's called Michael Shane. He's a real tough detective. It was a series that they would play before movies. And so when he got into Leave It to Beaver, I think that really the minister in him came out, and he was really good at it.
That's fantastic. And had the warmth and the fatherly figure nature about him. Um, what was it like working with him on set for
He was
you?
just really nice. He even directed a quite a few, not quite a few, but some of the shows, the last probably 3 years. But he was just a wonderful person. And in fact, the whole cast and crew, they knew that they were working with kids. So they only picked people like the cameraman, the lighting people, all the different people were all family people that had kids at home. So they could put up with us doing all the crazy things the kids do.
And how about Barbara Billingsley? I know, um, we lost her not that long ago, and she
Yeah.
was involved in some of the later incarnations of the Beaver character and format. What was it like working with her? I know
She
you
was just
adored each other.
She was just delightful. She was as nice as you would think she would be, and she was like that all the time. She was a very basically high-end New York model, and came out here and was just a lovely lady and a lovely person to work with. And we just had a really good time. In fact, they made sure that like all the crew members came from families. Everything was just a wonderful time to go to the set and work, and it wasn't really work; it was fun.
See, that's the key, right? That's the key is fun and making it fun. So when you were offset and you're back to being Jerry versus Beaver, what was that like too? With your friends and those in the neighborhood, were they? I would imagine they're like, wait a minute, you're on television, you're on I saw you on my TV. What was that like as a kid?
Well, to be honest with you, I didn't have many of those kinds of moments because we were filming for 39 weeks a year.
Yeah, that's the way
Basically, it
they
was
did it.
8 to 5, 9 to 6. And when
Yeah.
we finished that 39 weeks of filming a half-hour show a week, then we'd go out and do PR. We'd have about 3 weeks off, and then we'd go back to filming for 6 years. So I basically was at the studio most of the time. And I had friends at the studio and a lot of people that were in the show, the guy that played Larry and all the different characters, they were all my friends. But I didn't actually go to a regular school until I got into high school.
Right, exactly. Jen asks if you have any of Tony's abstract artwork that he does.
No, I wish I did, but he is a great artist, and he got lucky too because he always had teachers. When we were on the set, we had studio teachers, but his always had a degree in art or art history. And so he had wanted to be a painter since he was basically, I guess, a little boy. And so he got it, and he's a wonderful painter and a sculptor too. He also works in stone. So he's just a very creative person, and he likes doing it, and he does a wonderful job.
When you had heard that you had an opportunity to be on Married with Children, a little bit different than Leave It to Beaver. What was that like being on set with the gang there on Married with Children?
Well, they couldn't be nicer, and they're nothing like a lot of them are the characters they play. They're just the nicest people, and it was all for gags and laughs, and it was just a lot of fun to do a show like that. And when you come in, a lot of times, they don't pay any attention to you because they've been working for 20 weeks maybe, but they just really took me into the family, and it was a really fun show to do.
Were there ever any other shows in addition to the ones you've been a part of that you said, gee, I would have loved to have been a part of that show? Or were there others that maybe you tried out for that you would love to have been a part of over the years?
Well, it's hard to say. First of all, for the ones you tried out for, if you didn't get them, you may go see them in a movie theater or something like that, but
Right.
you really don't really know what they were. But Leave to Beaver had 1,000 people on the interview, so when I got that one, it was just incredible. But it was just a really fun way to grow up, and it was nice that we got to go back and in the 70s and do the new Leave It to Beaver, and so I got to see a lot of the original crew that we brought back. So that was really fun. It was like maybe going back to your high school class and being able to live it all over again.
So what was that like when you got a chance to reassemble? That must have been really exciting. And did everybody just sort of pick up where they left off?
Well, yeah, but it was kind of hard. Frank Penn, the guy who played Lumpy, was very high end. You wouldn't think it for Lumpy, but he was
Yeah.
a very high end stockbroker. So he was out there. He would work with us, but he was always on his phone. People were calling him up, and he'd say, "Oh yeah, buy 1,000 of this or 100 of
Yeah.
that, whatever." Uh, Ken Osmond was a decorated LAPD police officer who was shot in the line of duty, and we probably
Yes.
wouldn't have been. He's played Eddie. We probably couldn't have gotten him back, sadly. But if he hadn't been shot, but he was kind of put on special duty, so he had time then to do it. And it was sad that Hugh Beaumont had passed away, but Barbara was just so happy to see us all. We got a lot of the original crew back, and it was just a fun time to go back and do it. It's like having your childhood and being able to relive it as an adult.
As an adult, exactly. You mention, and there's some wonderful videos you've done with your mother, and your father, of course, very prominent in the Los Angeles school system, superintendent. Your mother also a treasure in your life and really inspiring. And of course, your wife, Teresa. We have this here. Tell us first about your mom and the love you have for her and how inspiring she is, and some of the videos that she does with you. She's terrific. She's a star.
She definitely is, and I wouldn't be
Yes.
where I am today without her. When I
Yeah.
was 2 years old, I was walking through a department store, and the lady came up to her, and I had kind of drifted off a little bit, and she said to her, "Is that your son?" And my mom went, "Oh, did he break something? Did he? Whatever happened, I'll pay for it." And the lady said, "No, but I've noticed you tried on a few of our outfits, and they fit him perfectly. The boy that was wearing those, he's gotten out of them. Could you come and do this?" And I did it. And from there, that's how my career started. So she was the start of it, and she was always there for me when I needed her.
And of course, lovely Teresa on the left there, who's always by your side as
Very definitely.
well. And yeah, uh, you're a lucky man. You're surrounded by lots of lovity, my friend.
A lot of pretty ladies, and you can't
Yeah,
beat that.
you are surrounded by lots of lovity. The other thing I mentioned too, which I mentioned in the beginning, is how charitable you are. Sometimes, and that's what I've always admired about you, Jerry, is yes, you were the character of Beaver Cleaver, and there's certain, image to that and everything else, but you really are a good-hearted guy, and you really are, doing things for the good of others. And I think I had said to you before we went live on the air that if there was this continuation of scripting for Beaver Cleaver and what you might have predicted his life to be like in later years, you're pretty much living it, which is quite amazing. Oh, and the other thing too, you, I pay homage to you, were also a Cub Scout, as was I. Now, was there something with that where when you found out that you were going to be on the series, you were in the Cub Scouts, and did you think that you were going to have to give up Cub Scouts in order to go on the show?
Well, it's actually probably the reason I got on the show
As the Cub
because
Scouts.
I had just joined the Cub Scouts. It was one of my first meetings, and I had been on an interview for Leave to Beaver, and Leave to Beaver had about probably 500 boys on the interview, and we didn't. It was the biggest interview I'd ever been on. We didn't realize that they were casting not only the Beaver but Wally, Lumpy, Eddie, and all the other characters. So it was just something that was, why are we going back and back? When I got the job, I understood then that, that was the leading role, but it was just a great time in my life. I've made friends my whole life with it. And it's something that I'm just very proud of. It shows all over the world and still showing from 1957.
What is it like when you come across the fans? I know, again, you are very, very good to your fans. You've gone to different, shows and things of that nature over the years. Um, Tova is asking, I believe she's in Maryland. She says, have you had any memorable interactions with fans over the years? Anything
We
that
always
stands?
do. It's just incredible how much the fans know. In fact, a lot of times they'll come up and say, "Now, you remember this episode?" And they'll start telling me about it. And it's funny because I'm thinking, I don't remember. And all of a sudden I realize, oh, that's something that really happened to them. And that's why they remember that part. It wasn't the main part of the show. It may have been a little more abstract, but, people just love Leave It to Beaver and they're very dedicated to the show. And they say, I get up early every day. I do my homework, and then I go watch a half hour Leave It to Beaver, and I go to school or whatever.
Exactly. You also, as I mentioned, the charitable side of you have been a real advocate and spokesperson regarding diabetes. And thank you for that, because by doing that, you're helping so many others to first get the tests they need, to figure out what it's all about, maybe recognize symptoms, family history. Tell us about that and why that is so near and dear to your heart, Jerry.
Well, I just got very lucky. I had been working as an actor for a long time, and then I started a catering company, and I started putting on weight because I was out all the time eating with producers and directors. I was doing studio catering, and I put on a lot of weight and didn't realize that that's not a very good thing to do. And a very good friend that's a doctor, and she's a personal friend too, and she said, I think you should come in for a physical. I said, I'm doing great. And finally, she pushed me along, said, okay. I said, I'll come in. She said, you probably only have 4 or 5 years to live if you don't do something about your diabetes. And I was just shocked. Then I went on a diet and I eat a lot better now, and I'm pre diabetic.
That is terrific. So she was looking out for you and pretty much could have saved your life, huh?
Absolutely. That pretty much absolutely saved my life because if it wasn't for her, I hate to say this, but I'm the kind of person I usually don't go to the doctor until I'm pretty sick. And I didn't realize how sick I really was because,
Yeah.
there was no pain in my arm or my leg or something. But I was very, very much overweight.
Kathleen Walker says, thank you for being here with us, Jerry, sharing your life. It's such a treat to meet you. She's a big fan of New York City, dear person as well. Linda Odell, who's watching in Florida, says, I'm diabetic. Thank you for caring about diabetics. That's really, really beautiful for you to say that. Gary had asked, I guess, did you ever have to take insulin? Did it ever get to that point for you, or not have to take it for you?
I was on it for a very, very short amount of time. I lost weight. I said, is there anything I could do maybe to get off this? And
Yes.
since I caught mine so early, I was able to.
Perfect. That is wonderful. What are some of the things that you've been doing over the years, as a spokesperson, as an advocate for the cause that you had an
Well,
opportunity to be involved in?
I go around to a lot of conventions and things, and because of my being the beaver, I talk about
Yeah.
that, but I also talk about diabetes. And when you look out into a crowd, I could probably go up and down every aisle and find 3 or 4 people that are probably pre-diabetic, if not diabetic, and they don't even know it. It just takes a few extra pounds, and you're there. So it's something that I was very lucky that I had somebody that saw it and got me the help I needed, and I try to help as many of my fans as I can.
Beautiful. Any of your kids go into the entertainment industry at all, follow your lead, or are they in a lot of different careers?
Well, my son Noah, he works as they're all crew members.
Yeah.
He works in the sound department. My brother Jimmy, who's my younger brother, is a director of photography, so he does some work, but not as an actor. But it's just been a great life for me. I don't know where I'd be if I didn't have Leave It to Beaver. I was so lucky, just the flip of a coin or whatever. That at 2 years old, somebody saw me and said, "Could he be a model?" And my mom said, "I think so." And the next thing I knew, I was doing TV and movies, and it's gone on from there.
You also served our nation as well in the Air Force, sergeant, right?
Well, I ended up as a sergeant. I spent 6 years in the Air Force and then the Air National Guard. And, it was just something that I needed to do. My father had been in World War II, and my grandfathers both had been in World War I. And so I did what I had to do. It wasn't something that I really wanted to do. I mean, it wasn't like something I was dying to do, but it was something that I knew that I had to do for my country.
And when you did it, you probably said, I'm so glad that I did. You probably, what did you learn by doing it? What did you learn about yourself being involved, with the Air Force?
Well, it was something that what I really learned is that you have to watch out for your brothers or sisters. And, everybody has got a job and you have to do your job. And I worked in wing headquarters. I was basically a colonel's aide, and I did a lot of typing. And if you made a mistake, somebody, or said the wrong thing or did the wrong thing, somebody could be even hurt or killed. So you had to really know what you were doing all the time. And it wasn't like a job where if you make a mistake, this just goes on.
Right, right, exactly. You've got to really be on your game. Again, thanks for the service too. And a lot of people are saying that. You have this too. This came out, and Jerry Mathers as the Beaver. Tell us about this.
Well, it's just basically my life story. People are always talking to me and saying, you told me this story. You told me that you ought to write a book. And
Yeah,
so after a while, I gave up and wrote a book. And it's just basically about Leave It to Beaver. But I worked a lot before Leave It to Beaver. I worked with
yeah,
Alfred Hitchcock. I worked with all
yeah.
these different people. So there's those stories in it and working on Leave It to Beaver.
What was it like writing it, putting it all down on paper? Sometimes it could be cathartic, therapeutic, emotional for people. When you had the opportunity to write the book, what was that like for you, the writing process, Jerry?
Well, I'd had such a blessed life that it was very, very easy because there weren't any of the big bad things that happened to a lot of people. I had all the good things that happened to me, and very, very few that were bad. None of them that were bad enough to go into the book that it would have upset anybody. But it was just fun. And looking back on it, I said, "Oh yeah," and it was a way to kind of review your life. I was thinking, "Oh yeah, I did that, and I did that. I forgot I did this movie or that movie."
Yes.
The people I met. It was just something that was fun to do, and people enjoyed it.
That's beautiful. Now, people, they like things. There is a website that you have, which I think is great, and where people can actually get things related to you, your career, to Leave It to Beaver. Tell us about that.
Well, it's Jerry Mathers, beavermerchandise.com. And I have things like it's on of course, the internet, the web. I have signed baseballs. I don't know if you can see it's a little light here, but I signed the baseballs for them. And I also have a green hat, which is the color of the hat I wore on the show. It didn't have Jerry Mathers Beaver on it, and just a lot of different things like that, T-shirts and all sorts of things. And for you people that live back in the winter, not California people so much, I have a nice warm hat for you to wear if you have to go out in that snow. And it has my signature right on it, Jerry Mathers Beaver.
How did you know that my favorite color is green with the hat? You're wearing the green shirt. You are intuitive. How did you know that it's the Irish in me, that green is the favorite color? You're
I must
amazing,
be.
Jerry.
It's the Irish in me. I always wear a lot of green. It's one of my favorite colors.
You've always been busy. If people think that you've just done Leave It to Beaver and then Still to Beaver and the newer versions, and then that was it, you have always been active, always busy, and guest appearances and other shows and films and things of that nature. Um, you could easily. You've well earned the opportunity to have your feet in the sand with a banana colada in your hand, swaying in a hammock, but you are so involved. Um, Tell us about some of the things that maybe you're working on now that you still want to do, that you look forward to doing, and some of the projects.
Well, a lot of the things I'm doing now are just greeting fans. I'll be at Chiller, which is in Parsippany, New Jersey, October 29th, 30th, and 31st. And that'll be the 30th anniversary of Leave It to Beaver, of Chiller, I'm sorry. And then in Rhode Island at a Comic Con on November 5th, 6th, and 7th. I have a merchandise site where I run that myself, and I have a lot of merchandise that's not from Leave It to Beaver, like the green hat and stuff like that, signed baseballs. So I have a real good relationship with my fans, and I'm lucky that I am in this generation with the internet where you can actually, chat and talk with people, and you don't have to go all the way all over the United States to be with them.
Which is absolutely beautiful, and now also the technology has afforded that opportunity as well. With all of this, the advancements in technology,
Absolutely.
which is quite exciting. We're here on the East Coast in the New York area between New York and Boston, so maybe I'll try to see you maybe in Jersey or maybe the Rhode Island one, which would be really fantastic.
I'll be looking for you. We'll have a good time.
And you really you love those, right? Greeting the fans, and
It
I
is it is fun that all of a sudden, people don't realize it, but I never get to ever see the fans. Actually, it was on film, and so you go there and you meet the fans, and they tell me about their favorite show or the characters they liked or they didn't like, and it's just a fun time to be able to meet and greet the people.
I know you absolutely love that. You do have a lot of joys and blessings in your life, and you've been very cognizant of that and very. There's a lot of gratitude that comes out of you, which I think is an absolutely beautiful thing. And you're a positive role model in many ways, Jerry. I know you're humble when you hear that icon, legend, you're very humble about it, but you really are a positive role model in so many different ways to so many different people. And crossing the generations and the cultures, people can see Leave It to Beaver in Germany, Japan, all around the world, and they're influenced by it still today. And tell us a little bit about the story in Japan. Japan, it's dubbed into a female is doing the voice, right?
That's right. And not only is it a female, but it's a very young girl, and she has a very, very high voice. So I've seen just clips of it that people have showed me. And suddenly here I am, and I know what the real words that I was saying in that particular script are, except I'm speaking Japanese, and it's definitely a little girl's voice.
It must be interesting to see that, right?
Very interesting.
The speech pattern's a little faster.
And a lot
Uh,
of things that, in fact, everything, I understand none of it.
That's it. Dawn says, nice to meet you, Jerry. God bless you and your family and everybody here. Cool merchandise. Must check out the website. Everybody's just saying some absolutely wonderful things here.
Well, thank you very much to everybody. I truly appreciate it. I've worked hard all my life, and it's always nice to have somebody say that they enjoyed it a little bit.
What are some of those continued joys and blessings when you look at this prolific career? And again, you've touched a lot of lives over these many years, not just with Leave It to Beaver. That's a main claim to fame, but all the other things you've done and the person you've been, Jerry. What are some of those continued joys and blessings in your life that fill your heart and fill your soul throughout these years?
Well, I think it's all the things that I know, the trail that I've left. That my grandchildren I know will be watching. They are now actually watching Leave It to Beaver, And it's just interesting to see a show that I did so many years ago that's still on the air. People still enjoy it. People always come up to me when they see me and they say, I really like this show, but I really like this one episode. And I'll say, oh, well, which one was it? And they tell me, and I say, oh, and I say, why is that? And they say, well, that same thing happened to me. That really happened to me. So it's just fun to meet all the fans, and it's just been a wonderful life.
Well, I just wanted to tell you there's been a few friends here that are sort of our sidekicks that are along with us on the show. They just wanted to say hello. I'm sure you've met and or maybe worked with some of them. Gilligan is here, and Gilligan says hello.
Hi, Gilligan.
This actually came from Bob Denver's wife, Dreama Denver, who's a beautiful person, and she was a guest twice on our show. And she had said, Jim, you have all these wonderful things on your set here. You need a Gilligan. So she sent the Gilligan doll, and Gilligan says hello.
Hello.
He from the same time period, sort of, maybe a little bit later than that. And another friend, Jeannie, hi, Jimmy Jeannie.
Oh, yes.
She says hello as well. She's in her bottle. And these are some of our cast of characters here. I did these once a year and a half ago when I did a nostalgic show. We were talking about childhood and all, and everybody said, keep the characters on the show. So we bring them out every once in a while. Of course, Casper is here, and Casper says hello. And one other true legend who's always here at the wrap of each broadcast, Mr. George Burns is with us as well, Jerry.
a great person in the acting field.
Did you ever get a chance to meet or work with him or do anything with George?
I don't think I worked with him, but I've met him at, different things when I was quite a bit younger, when I was doing Leave It to Beaver, when I do, different events and shows that, the Emmys and the Oscars. And he was a very, very nice man.
Yeah, there he is with he's always dapper. He's got his cigar. He's
and a character.
And a character as well. That was my aunt's. My mother is the youngest of 16.
Well, that's
big. That's a well, that's a family. That's well said. Well said from Jerry Mathers. You're something else. I just want to show you some of these comments here. Thank you, Jerry. I hope you know how much you mean to so many. You're a true lovety. From Kathleen Walker in New York City. From Mary Bishop in Florida. This was a wonderful conversation. Thanks, Jerry. Take care and be well. Sherry Larson in Kansas. Thank you, Jerry, for being here with us tonight. Truly enjoyed listening to your memories. Keep up your wonderful charity work. From Sherry. From Linda in Florida. Thank you, Jerry. I'm one of those fans that rushed home or stopped whatever I was doing and watched Leave It to Beaver. This is Linda Odell in Florida. Thank you for sharing your life and career experiences with all of us. And yes, you can drink to that. You've earned it. You've earned it. A toast to Jerry. And Toby says, thanks for a great time. I do toast to Jerry. Really a pleasure to have you with us. Thanks so much for all of the time. And I hope that the show met whatever expectations you had and you enjoyed the time with me as much as I certainly have with you.
I had a wonderful time. You had a lot of good questions, and I know all your fans will hopefully like what we said.
Oh, they already are. They're commenting left and right. And thank Teresa for us as well. And I hope to, let's bring her in.
She says no, her hair is not exactly right,
But you're the one that was on television. That's funny. Well, we saw her hand, I think, right? There is a hand there, right?
Yeah, that would be her. Usually it's like, don't say that.
No. Yeah. So was it like the telephone commercials, right? Let your fingers do the walking.
That was it.
Yeah. She, her next job is going to be a ventriloquist, right?
Very good at it.
That's it. You're the best, my friend. And I hope to see you soon. I hope to meet Teresa as well. That would be a pleasure if I'm on the West Coast on a TV shoot, or you're of course, you're here. Kathy Short says, wonderful chat tonight. Thanks for sharing your time with us tonight. Toby says, thanks for a great time as well. And cheers, Jerry. Now, as we say to all the guests, go stretch those legs and get the circulation going.
Sounds good.
Truly a delight, my friend. I really appreciate it. It was an honor to have you with us, and I wish you nothing but continued good health and blessing and joy for you and your family. And thanks for all the years and continued years of comedy and sharing your talent with all of us, Jerry Mathers.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to work with you.
We'll see you again soon. You take care now, okay?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Bye-bye now. Live and direct from Los Angeles, California, the one and only Jerry Mathers right here. Absolutely spectacular conversation. When you say he really is iconic, and when I say that, I mean that the way he's lived his life throughout, and just the things that he does, the things he's been a part of, the things he's stood for, the shows he's been on. And Linda O'Dell says, please do come back, Jerry. Absolutely. We'll keep the porch light on for Jerry Mathers, as we do for all the guests. He is more than welcome to come back on our show. And we welcome all of you, whether you're watching live tonight or you watch this in our archives. There are over 500 plus episodes of the Jim Masters Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show series, where we truly are bringing back the lost art of conversation. We don't call these interviews, we call these conversations. We sprinkle in entertainment and levity. Sometimes we take you on location. Sometimes we do host chat, viewer shows. When it's St. Patrick's Day, this whole set is green. Valentine's Day, it was red. Christmas, it's like a winter wonderland in here. Like an old school variety talk show with a modern twist, modern vibe of today. We'd love it if you subscribe to our YouTube channel and share it as we continue to build it. It's Jim Masters TV. Click the notification bell so you never miss any of our episodes. We've been doing it 7 days a week live since we launched the series. And we thank everybody watching all around the world for your love and support of our series. If you enjoyed this episode or any of the episodes that you do enjoy, we would love it if you click like. That's that thumbs up you see on the YouTube channel, and leave a comment for us as well. We would truly, sincerely appreciate that. That helps us as well. Tova says that Jerry has a lot of heart. I agree. And Toby says a generous guy. I agree. And Jen Barry in Pennsylvania says, Jerry and Jim, can we do a cheers and a lovely hug? Yes, we can do a cheers. There's your cheers. We have some cranberry juice in our green cup. It's been a green themed night with Jerry's green shirt, green hat, green cup, some cranberry juice here as well. Linda O'Dell says, in Florida, great show as always. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. And Kathleen Walker in New York City says, awesome show. Thanks, Jim. Hope you get some rest tonight. Yes, we did 3 shows today, which is amazing, and topped it off with the incredible Jerry Mathers. And thank you for being with us, Kathy Short in Cleveland, Ohio. Thanks for a wonderful evening. My pleasure as well. You guys are truly the best. You know, we always say here on the Jim Masters Show Live a couple of things. Well, first, we want to thank our very special guest, Jerry Mathers, for being with us today and opening up about his life, taking us really behind the scenes of what it was like working on the series, and not just that series, but all the other things that, you know, he's had an opportunity to do. There he is. It's a classic shot, right? And don't forget, you can get, that's a great one too. I don't know if we showed that one. They're a little bit taller there, a little bit older. Hugh and Barbara, yes, but Tony and Jerry, of course. And there they are there at the director's chairs on set. And really cool. I know you guys love looking at all of this as well. But again, Jerry's site is filled with nostalgia that you can check out as well. Take a look at this. Yes, I used to collect TV guides. Oh my God, for years I collected TV guides. We had boxes of them. They were actually TV guides were, you know, it was an event when a TV guide would arrive at your doorstep or it was picked up at the supermarket. It was actually an event. And a lot of people collected them. Some other great shots. But again, you can see so much more at Jerry's site, and we'll give you that information again in just a second. And of course, the merchandise site as well. You know, this, if you have a Leave It to Beaver fan, that's a cute one there. If you have a fan in the family, and or if you are one, of course. Now there with Lucille Ball as well. And of course, Shirley MacLaine, that is The Trouble with Harry, and so many other things we didn't even touch upon. Bob Hope and the gang, of course. Now you're going to want to find these movies and these shows, right? The ones prior to Leave It to Beaver. You're like, oh yeah, I forgot he was in that, and he was in that, and he was in that. Absolutely. Quite a run last couple of nights, huh? Gabrielle Stone, Dee Wallace's daughter, and Christopher Stone's daughter today. Tim Conway's daughter, Kelly Conway, was on with us just another night or so ago, talking about her dad, the legend Tim Conway. Larry Strauss on last night talking about his mom, Charlotte Ray, who you know from Different Strokes and Facts of Life and so much more. It's been like TV icon week here on the Jim Masters Show Live, and I've loved it. So again, another thanks to the one and only Jerry Mathers for his time and attention today, and his mom, and Teresa as well. And of course, thanks to all of you. As we always say, we would love it if you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Jim Masters TV. That would be fantastic. We appreciate you guys doing that and telling everybody about our series. That means the world to us as well. We work very hard behind the scenes to put on quality shows here. This is, like a television show. That's how we treat this with my work in TV. Gang, as we always say, don't forget to smile. Don't forget to share the lovity. Don't forget to find your Zen place. Mine is with loving family and friends. As you guys know, living here in the Northeast, I love the ocean, swimming, surfing, boogie boarding, sailing it. Just going to the ocean. We're just a couple blocks from it here in the Northeast. That's the Atlantic Ocean you're looking at. That's the South Shore of Long Island, New York. There. And of course, my work in television, radio, stage, and film over the years, that's another Zen place for me as well. You're watching the Jim Masters Show right here on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, a channel dedicated to entertaining, informing, educating, and inspiring. We thank all of you for joining us. All the cast of characters are here. Thanks to all these great comments. We'll check a couple more. You remember the TV guides as well. Absolutely. And that's Jen, and Linda says, good night, Mr. Levity. Good night, Levities. Hugs and Levity love. Christine Clifton in North Carolina. Thanks, Jen, for a delightful evening with Jerry. Enjoyed hearing all about his career, all the wonderful things he is doing now. Thrilling to have him share with us. Jerry is no doubt a Levity. I agree. Jerry Mathers really is. And all these great comments. Joan Sandow, thank you very much as well for your comments tonight as well. Gang, we're going to wrap up. We are back tomorrow, and you can see all of our episodes on our YouTube channel. Again, over 500 of them and counting. And it's always a pleasure to have you here. Thanks for all of your time and attention, gang. This is your host, Jim Masters, thanking you for your time, this time till next time. You missed the TV guides, right? I know they're not the same like they used to be. Now it's more like a magazine. Before it was like the Bible for television, the TV guides. Gang, we're going to scoot out. We thank Jerry Mathers. We thank all of you. Don't forget, we have a Facebook group for this show, The Jim Masters Show, Liberty Hall. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Jim Masters TV. And of course, our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. You guys be well. Take care. Another fantastic show. One more time, don't forget to subscribe. There's the red button. There's no cost when you subscribe. No cost. And look what happens. You become a subscriber, a follower, somebody who believes in what we're doing here on the show. Take care. Be well. Have a great rest of your night. Thanks for watching, whether you're watching live or you watch this Memorex later in the archives. We appreciate it. We love having all of you here. It's always a blessing. This is your host, Jim Masters. Thanks for being with us, gang. We'll see you on the next episode of the Jim Masters Show Live. Take care and be well. Cheers.